China's total stock market worth is $9.8 trillion. Their biggest company is Tencent, worth $442 billion, and they have 5,300 total public companies. So all of China's publicly traded equities are not even one-fifth that of the United States. $55.2 trillion in total stock market capitalization, and their largest company is Apple, worth about $3.38 trillion, about 7.5 times larger than Tencent. Now, this $55.2 trillion isn't just worth more than the next four combined or the next 10 combined. It's worth more than all of the other stock markets combined. Outside the United States, the market total is about $51 to $53 trillion. The reason being is that money goes where it's best treated. Doesn't matter where you are on the planet. So when people talk about the economic power of China versus the economic power of the United States, you can see that China is still heavily outmatched. Also, the United States is much more inviting to foreign holders. While China, they only allow about 5% of all their stocks to be owned by foreign holders. The United States, that figure is closer to like 17 or 20%. Also, the number one holder of Chinese equities in China is the Chinese government, while that is nowhere near the case when it comes to the United States. Before the United States became the number one financial power on the planet, that title belonged to the British. If you look at this infographic from Visual Capitalist, you'll see that in 1900, 24.2% of the world's market cap was held by the UK and 14.5% was held by the US. So even 126 years ago, we were the number one contender to the financial throne. Now, during this time in 1900, the United States GDP already surpassed the UK for about 15 to 20 years. Just a couple decades later, by the 1920s, the United States had 50% of the global stock market capitalization, and the British only had about 25. And in 1923, even though the British still had the world's reserve currency status, there were more dollars held in foreign exchange reserves in banks all across the world. There are two main points as to why I told you all about this. One, it takes a lot for one country to no longer become the most dominant economy on the planet. It doesn't matter if there's more of your dollars floating around than somebody else's. It doesn't matter if you have a large economy. The second reason is to tell you the one thing that the United States had over England that's also keeping it ahead of China. It's allowing the free flow of capital to take place. That's it. The British Empire had, and the Chinese currently have, very strict capital controls. Just like the British Empire, the Chinese only allow a small amount of money to actually leave the country. The British Empire forced most of the investment to go towards the empire instead of other lucrative places like the United States or any other international market. Kind of like how China forces their investors to reinvest domestically. While the Chinese are currently manipulating their currency to keep it artificially low against the dollar, the British were manipulating it back then to keep it artificially high with the gold standard. And of course, the straws that broke the camel's back for the British Empire was World War I and World War II. And a lot of the money in Europe, and especially Great Britain, flocked to the United States. Now, while there are conflicts going on across the world and what's going on between Russia and Ukraine is horrendous, it is nowhere near equivalent to a world war. Yet even though no major war is taking place, the millionaire migration from China to the West was astronomical. China lost 15.2 thousand millionaires and billionaires in 2024. And a lot of that money went to the UAE, Singapore, Australia, Canada, and of course the United States. And look at the Brits, they lost 9,500 because of the idiocy of Brexit, of course. I'm well aware the United States has a huge debt problem. I mean, $35.96 trillion by the end of 2024. So that's about 130% the size of our total GDP. But as long as the wealthiest people from all over the world are still parking their money here, and as long as the wealthiest people in rival nations are leaving their country and coming here or to other freer economies that are more cooperative with the United States, then we're still pretty much okay. Now, I don't think the US is going to last forever. I don't think their economy is going to keep dominating the world for dozens of generations to come. Every empire falls, every currency falls. But from the way everything looks, especially right now, I don't think the US economy is going to lose its prominence or potency in my lifetime, and most likely not my children's lifetime. I am the Geo Husar, and you should be following me on all of my platforms. Thanks for watching.